So here we are. Thank you everybody for the opportunity. Our talk today is really going to kick off this idea of what would it look like if silos were broken down between the three different areas of education. So what we're kicking off is what we call the Changemaker K-20 partnership. This isn't just an idea, this is happening now. We're going to be talking about our specific involvement in this effort, but we're also going to be talking about a third partner who isn't here. So we'll be giving you a little bit of information, and we'd love to talk to you afterwards with respect to what this all means. At the end of the day, what we're talking about is, right now, the conversation revolves around access, and it revolves around achievement gaps. But what we really want to talk about is the opportunity gap. And when we talk about the opportunity gap, we're also really thinking about how these silos create dysfunction and how a young person goes from a kindergartner all the way to a PhD.
So thank you all and for having us here. I just want to talk a little bit about what informs this work that we do. And so we're from Tucson, Arizona. We're 50 miles from the US-Mexico border. And so the kids, the students that we work with mostly are Chicano, Latino students. And if you look at these statistics, you can see that our youth are being pushed out of high school at a very high rate, the highest rate if you look demographically across the board. I know we could problematize this chart in many ways. We have people who identify male-identified folks on the right, female-identified folks on the left as far as the numbers go. And you can see that the population that we are serving is pushed out at a higher rate than any other group in high school. So we have little chicanitos and chicanitas who come to us in kindergarten, and something happens from when they step into that kindergarten classroom to high school that just over half of them don't make it through high school. So what we're looking at are what are those factors that are pushing our youth out of school, and I use push out very intentionally rather than drop out. What's happening, right? And we're flipping that script and saying we're going to have a culturally responsive and sustaining pedagogy where students can see themselves and see their ancestors and their histories, and we have research to show, especially in Tucson with the Mexican American Studies program, what the success can be. So this is what's informing our practice.
So that's our problem statement. So what's the solution? So at the end of the day, we're looking at a framework that's really focused on research-based, rehumanizing, and community-centered praxis. So what does that mean? That means that when our young people step in to an educational setting, they should be seeing education as a vehicle to create change. They should be seeing it as a vehicle to create change in their specific community, if they so desire. Right now, we don't see that. We see that 4.0s aren't changing the world the way we thought they were going to do. So at the end of the day, we want not only, as I said, not only to address that achievement gap, but that opportunity gap for our young people. So we could go in all these different directions with these talks, but we really want to take you to see the faces of the young people that are in this pipeline. Right? These are three separate organizations, Mexicayo Academy of Excellence that has 20 years experience on the border in Nogales, Arizona. We have Changemaker High School. We're the new kids on the block. We've been there for 6 years now. And Prescott College that has 50 years of experience working in Arizona.
So Mexicayo Academy, we're going to highlight a couple of their students. Mexicayo is a K-8 bilingual, bicultural school. I wanted to share with you what the students see every day when they come to school. The intention was for the students to be able to see a change maker that represents them every time they walk onto their campus. So this mural of Cuauhtémoc is huge on the wall when the K-8 students walk in. Cuauhtémoc was the last Aztec emperor of Tenochtitlan. Very young. He was a change maker, right? And so these students get to see somebody who represents them and their histories every day. The founder said, we wanted our students to walk by this mural every morning and be reminded about the resistance of their people and the resilience of their people with pride, rather than seeing our kids as deficit in some way when they come to us. Changemaker, you can see some of the examples here of young people actually facilitating binational youth dialogues across the line, right, on both sides of Nogales, in Sonora and in Arizona, and starting environmental education organizations like Semillas. Students by 5th grade are bilingual in English and Spanish. And so these are the students that are going to be coming into Changemaker High School and being that first part of the K-20 pipeline and pathway.
So for us, this really is based on relationship, right? So the founders of Mexicayo, myself, and Dr. Fernandez, we've been working together informally. And what we really wanted to challenge was that idea that things should be competitive. What would it look like if we flip that and start talking about cooperation, right? If things become cooperative, what can we do? If this is the success, right? Mexicali is in the top 5% of schools that work with free and reduced lunch students, right? If they're having that success, then what could happen if their students are then matriculating to the next level? What we usually have is those students then get lost in the system and end up in another system that isn't going to respond to what they learned. We see that going from elementary to secondary and from secondary to the university space. A young change maker in high school who is ready and eager to get into the college space, the university space, only to sit in a lecture hall. And so these are the students that I work with. Our salutatorian, Kayla, she's with us, but it's a family that's actually with us, right? Her sister graduated from our school. She's getting ready to graduate from our school, and her younger sister is also a freshman at our school, and her younger brother is getting ready to matriculate into our school, right? So it's really a family affair. And I say it's a family affair because Kayla this year lost her father. And we were there to help and support her in those times and to still help her attain those goals. And she was on her own taking care of business, but then tragedy strikes. And we have to step up as educators to say, how do we fill that void? How do we fill the niche? How do we help? What do we do? Or do we just tell that young person, you keep that outside the door and you come and just take your test here? That's not the type of instruction that we want. On the bottom right, you see Jared. And so Jared was already doing amazing stuff. He came to us as a tech kid, right? One of those kids interested in tech. He can tell you everything about watches, watch manufacturers, everything from antique watches to the present. And now what we're seeing is he's interested in connecting tech to the outdoors. And he just received the Changemaker scholarship to attend Prescott College, a $15,000 scholarship for every single year of his attendance at Prescott College. So our kids are already building the pipeline even before we sit at the table with each other.
So Prescott College has been working with Mexicali for over 10 years along the border, and with Changemaker over the last 5 years. Ankur is just one of my students as an example of the relationships that are already happening. We teach our students in social justice and environmental justice and community organizing, regardless of what content area they're interested in. And so Ankur is a beautiful example of the relationship that's already happening. He decided to he was studying education and political studies, and so he moved to Nogales for his last 2 semesters of college and was teaching the K-8 students media studies and having them document their own stories and share them in larger organizations. While he was there, he had the very real experience of driving while brown, right, along the U.S.-Mexico border, and was pulled over not only by the police but by the Border Patrol. He was told to lay on the ground. He had guns aimed at him, and he had that very real experience that a lot of our youth have nowadays. And so he took that and he decided to use his journalism skills to publish an article about police violence, border violence that's happening in the U.S.-Mexico border region. And now he's decided to go on to journalism school. He'll be in June attending Northwestern, and then he wants to come back to the area to contribute to the community. So our students are always using their resources and their access to better the world. And so he's an example of some of those connections that are already happening. And again, so we just see this vision of this K-20 pipeline, if we're all together under one roof, what the possibilities really are.
So this is taking a page out of Ashoka's book, but adding a little bit to it, right? That's what innovation looks like. It isn't about reinventing the wheel. It's about finding ways to add to that wheel. So what we see here is framework change, Ashoka's framework change model, right? Going from Start Empathy to Youth Venture to Ashoka U to Changemakers. And what we're noticing is that what if we're just as intentional with the ed system? What if in those in-between spaces, informed by what Ashoka is speaking about, what we're inspired to learn about and act upon, what if we would place our institutions within this framework, right? So what if Camila, who's at Mexicali, is in a Start Empathy school? And what if she then matriculates and engages at Changemaker High School that has partnered and continues to partner with Youth Venture, right? And what if she then matriculates into an Ashoka U, working with Prescott? Where is she going to end up? What is she going to be able to do? And her experience will inform her future. It'll inform where she wants to go. It'll inform what she wants to do, how she wants to do it, and who she wants to do it with. And now she's moved into that space where she's in control. Right? So what we want to do is remove those obstacles, remove that cumbersome understanding of where do we go and how do we get there, and make it easy for us to get young people to where they want to go and to support them along the way, even if tragedy strikes.
Thank you.
Thank you.